In the dystopian alternate reality, overconsumption and poor waste, management have rendered the Earth an inhospitable wasteland. Due to the extreme temperatures, all plant species have disappeared, and all water sources have dried up. The world is now unfit for human habitation due to the massive amount of non-degradable waste that it contains. Everyone leaves the dying planet and boards the enormous mothership known as the Axiom as a result of these dire circumstances. All humans in space are housed on the Axiom, which is robust and dependable. The enormous airplane is equipped with both basic and opulent amenities, such as beaches, spas, and an enormous amount of food. The humans leave behind a robot army to dispose of the rubbish that is collected while they are gone. These robots start their laborious cleansing operation and continue for years. A few centuries later, the majority of the machines stop working, leaving only Walle. Walle keeps up with his duty throughout time and carefully packages the mounting trash for disposal. He encounters a friendly cockroach one evening after a busy workday and brings it to his shelter. The cyborg finds it amusing that the refuge is located in a well-kept dump that is full of unusual artifacts and many robotic spare parts. He loads a tape onto his media player when he gets home and watches the movie on TV. Walle sees a couple holding hands and looks longingly at them as he longs for a friend. Walle becomes preoccupied once Sandstorm begins to approach from a distance. He hurriedly packs up and closes his shelter before going to bed. The robot sees a plant and is soon sidetracked from his normal task of collecting trash the following day. Since this is the first plant the planet has had in centuries, Walle is astounded to see the seedling. He takes up the bud with care and goes straight back to his shelter. He notices a moving red light there and finds the object fascinating. Walle pursues it and eventually finds himself in a desert as an unidentified spacecraft touches down. The airplane returns to its original spot, drops off a peculiar-looking pod, and then takes off quickly. Walle is startled to see a different robot named Eve emerge from the pod as he warily monitors it. Eve is a stylish robot with a modern, elegant look, and Walle falls in love with her right away. The new robot is brazen, and when provoked, fires laser beams at inanimate objects. Walle is still fascinated, though, and is following her from a distance. He keeps an eye on her throughout the day and quickly discerns that she is looking for something. Despite searching through a number of goods, Eve is unable to locate what she is seeking for. Walle gets up the nerve to approach Eve and inquires about her search out of curiosity. Even when she converses with him, Eve keeps her purpose a secret. Walle is disappointed, but he respects her boundaries, and they swiftly change the subject to move the conversation along. A sandstorm suddenly arises minutes later and hits the robots. Eve becomes lost right away, but Walle is kind enough to guide her to his refuge. Gary displays to her his assortment of assembled items. He amazes the robot with each item as he hands her a bubble wrapper, a light bulb, and a Rubik's Cube. The two even dance for a time while watching a movie on his media player. Then he proceeds to show her his new sapling. As soon as Eve uses her sensor to quickly scan the plant, her radar glows green, hence indicating that she has spent the entire time looking for a plant. She takes the seedling back and switches to standby mode while broadcasting a signal into space. Walle makes numerous unsuccessful attempts to revive her. The next day, much to the Earth robot's dismay, he leaves Eve at the shelter and goes to work. A few hours later, Walle feels the ground shake and sees the same plane that had just landed at his house. He rushes to the location and sees a spaceship take a dormant Eve and place her in a pod with other robots of a similar type. Before takeoff, Walle says goodbye to his pet cockroach and holds onto the aircraft. The craft takes off into space after bursting through the atmosphere. Walle becomes disoriented in the strange environment and drifts away from the ship, but fortunately the robot regains control and clings on tightly as the ship zooms past the moon and stars. It eventually arrives to and enters the Axiom, the mothership where people have spent many years. While Eve and the other bots are being examined, the airplane docks in a waiting area and offloads them. The bots are scanned by a machine, which finds Eve's cabinet contains a plant specimen. A gang of cyborgs rush to remove her from the room after it triggers an alarm. Walle finds himself in an automated hallway after following them. After moving past them, He soon notices a group of people. Walle is immediately taken aback by their fat build and quickly learns about their new way of life. As a result of robots' entire assistance, it turns out that humans can no longer operate or perform simple tasks on their own. They don't eat any vegetables or healthful foods and only consume sugary drinks as their main source of nutrition. Their anatomy has completely changed as a result of their sedentary lifestyle, bad food, and zero gravity in space. The ordinary person nowadays has very little bone mass and density and is overweight. Walle closely pursues Eve and makes friends with two others he meets along the road. He finally sees Eve being led into the ship's command center and quickly follows her. The robotic wheel of the ship, Otto, assists Macrea, the Axiom's captain, while he performs a daily check on the plane there. Macrea gives a lecture to the entire ship on a set of projected screens from his office after all systems have been made operational. The captain declares that it has been precisely 700 years since people left Earth. He congratulates the passengers for making it this far, despite the fact that many generations have come and gone since then. Otto alerts Macrea to Eve's presence and says that she has returned with a seedling before he can finish his speech. The statement baffles the captain, because no robot has ever come back from Earth carrying a plant. He refers to his automated manual, which immediately starts playing a clip from a previous episode about this particular issue, and then appears on the screen to explain that the recovery of a plant from Earth means that the planet has become habitable. As a result, he gives the captain the instruction to place the seedling inside a holodetector, which would quickly direct the ship back toward land. Eve awakens a short while later and sees Walle. She hides her Axiom friend in a corner after being startled to see him. Macrea gives the go-ahead for the ship's AI to get the seedling from Eve in the interim. They are shocked to discover it empty after the cyborg quickly opens her cabinet. As a result, Macrea decides Eve has a flawed program and sends her to the diagnostics center. Walle approaches the captain and shakes him as she departs. As Macrea examines his hand, he notices a large amount of dirt inside. When he notices this, he sends Eve and Walle to the diagnostics center. Macrea investigates the dirt after the bots have left and finds that it is from Earth. He becomes enthralled by it and falls down a rabbit hole of world-related inquiry. The captain finally becomes enthralled by his discoveries and resolves to go back to his home. The Earth robot and Eve finally make it to the core in the next scene. While Eve is sent to a repair ward, Walle is imprisoned in a cell for malfunctioning robots. Although she is well cared for, Walle misinterprets her repairs as torture and rushes in to save her. While doing this, he launches an energy blast that destroys the controllers and frees all the defective equipment. The two are immediately sought after by the machines as a result of this action, marking them as robots. Even though Eve is furious at Walle for being a bother, she manages to protect him from the following cyborgs. She eventually leads him to an exit area where she places him in an escape pod that will take him back to Earth. They hear a cyborg approaching, though, just as the pod is about to lift off, so they immediately hide to escape being discovered. They then witness Bill 4, Otto's goon, putting the airplane into self-destruction while he hides the missing plant in the pod. Walle runs into the pod as soon as he exits to fetch the plant for Eve, but he becomes trapped and is transported into space instead. Soon after, the self-destruct countdown starts, and Walle panics as he desperately presses the ship's buttons. In the meantime, Eve hurries into a life-saving escape pod and pursues him. Moments later, she sees the pod explode and immediately stops in horror, thinking Walle and the plant are no longer there. Devastated, Eve rushes to the blast to locate their corpses, but she is shocked to see Walle still alive. The rescued seedling is seen when the Earth robot opens his cabinet, which he then presents to her. Eve is overjoyed to see the plant and quickly goes to get it while giving Walle a thank you hug. The duo butts heads, creating a spark that knocks the Earth robot unconscious and causes him to swoon. As they flee from two police bots that are looking for them, Walle quickly regains his composure. The two then re-enter the Axiom. After hiding the Earth robot with some paper towels, Eve rushes inside Macrea's room and leaves him alone. When she offers the captain the retrieved seedling, the captain is astounded to see her and beams with joy. At first, McCree tells Otto to put the plant in the holodetector, but he later changes his mind and does it himself. Otto halts him as he approaches it and makes an attempt to seize the plant. McCree queries the robot, perplexed about his activity. Otto responds by saying he has a command to block people from going back to Earth and playing a previous video to set the scene. It turns out that the former Axiom leader prophesied that the Earth would no longer be able to support life 7 centuries ago. So they stopped sending machines to remove the planet's mounting rubbish and gave up on its cleanup operation. Additionally, Otto's program was programmed with an override instruction by the previous ruler, instructing the cyborg to thwart any efforts to return to Earth. The instruction is no longer relevant, McCree tells Otto when the film ends, because the seedling stands for the fact that life is now sustainably possible on Earth. The cyborg, however, dismisses him and sends one of his goons to steal the plant from the captain. Even the captain both scream in terror as the henchman swiftly places the plant in a trash chute. Fortunately, their fright lasts only a moment when Walle appears from the chute holding the found seedling. Walle places the plant in his cabinet, but Otto strikes right once and electrocutes him, sending him flying into the trash can. Eve tries to step in, but the rogue cyborg forcibly silences her and throws her into the chute as well. The pair lands in a landfill and is squished into an air chamber with the waste. The doors to the chamber suddenly open. Nearly being dragged into space is the couple. Fortunately, they are saved by a cleaning robot that had been following Walle's footprints in the sand. When Eve and Walle rejoin, she quickly learns that he is severely injured and requires a new circuit board. She looks for a replacement at the landfill but is unsuccessful. Walle eventually draws her attention and informs her that he has numerous backup parts in his Earth bunker. After learning this, Eve is inspired to drop the seedling into the holodetector in order to guide the Axiom back to its starting point and save Walle. They both return to the common area when she flies him out of the garbage can. They encounter opposition right away as the police bots pursue and encircle them. They are fortunately saved by the malfunctioning cyborg's walle he released from the diagnostic facility. By working together, the machines are able to defeat the rebellious bots. McCree is locked up in his room at the opposite end of the ship by Otto. After some time of lying there helplessly, the captain devises an escape strategy. He deceives the cyborg by posing as the owner of the plant via a screen. Otto enters his room to investigate it, but McCree pounces on him and quickly escapes. After several times of fighting, the robot finally knocks him off balance. When everyone is free, Otto tilts the spacecraft and closes the holodetector, which sends them all stumbling over the floor. He can see the holodetector closing, but he uses himself as a wedge to prevent it from closing completely. Sadly, the machine's weight crushes him and disintegrates several of his components. When the renegade cyborg is finally brought down manually, McCree stands up and attacks Otto. The plant is swiftly inserted into the holodetector by Eve, who seizes the chance to send the ship back to Earth. When they arrive on the planet, Walle's pet roach greets them, and Eve immediately takes the seriously hurt bot to a shelter. She quickly rifles through his shelves for the necessary components, utilizes them to quickly fix him. As he stares blankly at Eve, Walle regains consciousness, but regrettably also loses his personality and memories. She makes every effort to restore his memory, but she is ineffective. She is so distraught that she bumps heads with him while holding his hand, starting a spark. They softly butt heads once more, as Walle's memories are jumbled by this action, and he regains his individuality. The people ultimately leave the spacecraft in the final scene, and they plant the seedling in fresh ground. The plant replicates many months later. As the Earth gradually reverts to its fertile and life-sustaining state, new flora emerges once more. Turn on notifications, give a like to support the channel, and subscribe to watch more videos like this one. Keep an eye out for our upcoming videos. I appreciate you coming.